Howdy everyone, this is Lauren Crest. I decided I was going to try vlogging for the first time today instead of actually writing my blog, so here we go. I am going to be answering a few FAQ questions, and if you have any more, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and we can do a follow-up one eventually if we get enough comments. So, first question that I have is, when did you start doing art? I get this question quite a lot, and it's kind of an interesting answer because it's a little bit of a two-part answer. I have pretty much always done art. I've always drawn and painted and doodled with crayons, but I started getting really serious in art in about high school. In high school, I started freshman year really working on proportion. Then sophomore year, I started working with emotion and trying to get that across instead of having such flat paintings. The next year, my junior year, I worked on hands specifically because everybody kept saying that hands were really hard to do, and so I made it a study to get really good at hands. And then in my senior year of high school, I started working on my style, and that's where it's all branched out from, is really buckling down in high school and wanting to get the basics down. The next question that I have is, what is my favorite color? Which is really interesting and a little bit of an art lesson here. Colors are relative, which I didn't believe in color theory, but they can't exist in a vacuum, and so they're affected by what's next to it and what's around it and the lighting, and so I've always had a really hard time with this question. But to simplify it, I like deep jewel tones, so specifically emerald green, really deep dark, rich blues, amber yellows, and maroons are my favorites to paint with. And wearing wise, I like neutrals. As you can see, I like neutrals a lot. What is my preferred medium to work with? As you may be able to tell from the first question, or the color question, I have a really hard time with favorites. So I think for now my favorite would be working with pen and ink, but the top list is definitely printmaking. I like the process that calls for. It's very methodical, it's very step-by-step and slow process, and I love that. I love graphite and painting just for how fluid they are and what different techniques they allow for. And I also really love working digitally because it allows for testing things out and working quickly and being able to change filters and stuff just to see what effect that you want without it being permanent. So I really like that. Another question that I have is, what is the hardest part of working freelance? And that is a very easy question. My cat is the hardest part of working freelance. Very frequently she will jump up on my desk and lay across my keyboard, and it's a mandatory break time. So it's my favorite part, but it's also the hardest part of working freelance. The last question that I have is not so much a question, it's how much of, well, I guess it is a question. How much of my art is talent versus skill? I am told very frequently that I am super talented, and while I appreciate that, it's usually not so much talent, but skill that I've really worked hard on. My talent pretty much ran out in high school. It only got me so far, and after that I really had to start buckling down and pushing to find a way for my eyes and my brain and my hand to all connect and become one. And so I wouldn't say it's so much talent, but skill. And I firmly believe that anybody who wants to draw and is willing to put in the amount of time and effort can become good at it. There's a book called The Outliers that we were required to read for printmaking, and it was a fantastic book. It talked about how anyone who wants to be A professional in their craft needs to put in, I think it's at 10,000 hours into their craft before they can fully make it. And I completely agree with that. And so, you know, if you want to do art and you want to make it, you have to put in those hours, and that's what I've done. Anyways, make sure to check out our comic this coming Tuesday. We will have another comic released, so check it out, and if you have more questions, let me know. Thank you so much.